Hi everybody, this is Sue from the blog Stories of an Unschooling Family. Welcome to my video. This is another Evernote video. I think it's the 5th one that I've made recently. I didn't actually intend to make any more Evernote videos, but the other evening I had an additional idea and I was really quite excited by this idea, and I thought I might make a video and share it with you and see what you think. Perhaps we could discuss it. So today I want to talk about unschooling, strewing, and planning, or, well, planning and unschooling don't really go together very well, so maybe we could call that unplanning. Planning and unschooling, yeah. I don't know about you, but we don't actually plan a lot of what we do or what the girls do. I don't sit down, make a detailed plan of what I would like the girls to learn. They follow their own interests. I make suggestions, but I really have no idea what next week will bring, what we'll be doing next week or the week after or in a term's time or a year's time. There's certain things that there's a good chance we will be doing next week, like outside music lessons. They happen on a particular day of the week at a particular time, so we know we'll be doing those. The girls expect me to continue reading out loud a couple of books that I'm reading at the moment. There's a few projects that we've all got underway. Maybe we'll work on those next week. There's individual projects. There's a few things I'm doing together with the girls. So those things we know about. They're likely to happen, but there's so much that we don't know will happen. I find that's a very exciting way of learning. We just get up in the morning. The girls say, "Well, what should we do today, Mum?" And I say, "Well, what would you like to work on?" And we usually come to some idea of how we're going to spend our days. The girls spend a fair proportion of the day on their own, working on their own ideas, their own projects. We'll spend a bit of time, usually in the morning, where I'm happy to help the girls with whatever they would like to do. They look to me for some suggestions as well. They're quite willing to listen if I have some good ideas. So we enjoy that way of learning. So not planning is not a problem for us in the everyday. Where it does become a problem is at registration time, when we apply for another period of homeschool registration, and one of the conditions is that we have to put together an educational program for our children. Now, I could sit down and spend an awful long time making up such a plan of all the things that my girls might be learning in the next term, next year, next 2 years, but it won't really be a useful plan for us. Maybe it'll get us through our registration process, but as I don't know what the girls will be interested in long term or even short term, and I don't know what their needs will be either, it's not very likely that any plan that I write will actually be useful to us. So what do we do? Well, I had this idea the other night about an Evernote plan that we could use. Now, I don't know if it'll be useful for registration process or not, but I'm hoping it will. I'm hoping that it will be something I can put to, in front of my authorized person and say, this is what we possibly will be doing in the next term, year, 2 years. Here are all these resources, and they cover the syllabus, and I hope that it'll be enough to get us our registration. In the short term, I'm hoping that my planning notes will be of value to my family just as they are, without even thinking about registration. So this is my idea. I put together a new notebook, and I called this new notebook 2014 Planning Notes. And I thought that I would fill this notebook with all kinds of resources, things that might interest my children, things that they would be interested in learning, things they'd be interested in doing, things they'd be interested in reading. And they could scroll through this notebook and just be a strewing notebook. So what did I put in my planning notes notebook? Well, I started off at my bookmarks file on my computer, all those links that I've been gathering over the last year or so, thinking that there might be some things on these websites that might interest my girls. I started there and I went through them one by one and visited all the websites and clipped either a full page or an article or a screenshot of the websites and sent them to my 2014 planning notes notebook. So, for example, here there's Lost in Austin, a full mini-series that someone recommended to me on my blog, and the series is on YouTube, and I'd bookmarked it. So what I did now is I clipped it into my notebook, and I think the girls might enjoy that one. So I got a lot of YouTube videos, things like Shakespeare's, there's Macbeth there, various websites that we go to regularly, which have interesting like videos. There's one there, the Periodic Videos website. Then there's a Gilbert and Sullivan archive that we visited a number of times. It was in my bookmarks. So I went through my bookmarks and, as I said, I clipped them and they're now in my planning notes. I then thought about what resources we actually have in our house that I could put into my notebook. I started off with Kindle books. Number of books on my children's Kindles. I send them books regularly, and they have a sort of a stack, an archive of books there that they haven't actually read. And when they're looking for something to read, they'll go to their Kindle and scroll through and see what I've actually sent them. Well, as an additional reminder of what's on their Kindles, I actually put them in the notebooks. Here's a living chemistry book, The Disappearing Spoon, which I bought from Amazon, and I went to Amazon and I clipped the appropriate page from the Amazon website and put it into my notebook. Now, the girls have already got this on their Kindles, so I don't have to go back to Amazon and buy it again. It's just a reminder of what's on their Kindles. But while I was there at Amazon, I did find some additional books which I thought were interesting. I just sort of stumbled over them while I was clipping, and I decided I'd put them in my planning notes. And here's one, What Einstein Told His Cook 2. Now, we've already got What Einstein Told His Cook 1, which is on my girl's Kindle, but I clipped this one as well, and there's the link over there, and if I click onto that link, it takes me to Amazon, or I'll take my girls to Amazon. If they say, Mum, you know, I'd love to read that book, it would only take a couple of clicks to buy that book, download it, and get it onto their Kindles for them. So I've added books to my planning notes, which I'm prepared to buy for my children if they show any interest. Now there's books like that one there, which is a paperback book that is on our shelf. I again went to Amazon and I just clipped it from there because it was easy to get an image into my note from Amazon, and I copied and pasted the description of the book as well. Now that's my book that I actually was given for Christmas last year, which is on my shelf. But the other day, Sophie actually saw this in my planning notes, and she went and had a look on the shelf of the book, and soon she was flipping through it all and she found an exercise that she would like to do, and she came up to me and said, Mum, I'd really love to do some photography. Would you like to do this with me? And so we are going to do that next week. We're going to go down to the lake with our cameras and we're going to do an exercise out of this creative photography book. Now, before I go on to that, I'll just say what else that we could put into a notebook, because I haven't actually finished this planning notes notebook yet. I keep thinking of more things that I'd like to put into it. I can't put everything that we've got into it because our house is full of interesting things that I've bought over the years. But I could put a note for games. We've got a number of board games, computer games, experiment kits. We've got a number of those. I could either just write a description of it, or I could go looking for an image on the internet to make it the note look attractive, that might capture my girls' attention as they're going through. Lots of different things that could go into a planning notes notebook. I think that I'll be adding to this notebook regularly. Things will actually, the girls, I'm hoping, will actually follow up a few of these links, and I'll replace them with other notes, or the girls will be interested in something in particular, and I'll go looking for some extra resources on the internet or on the shelves, and I'll add the notes as well. So it's an ongoing notebook, a notebook I think that I'll be adding to regularly. Now, I've shared this notebook with all my girls, and it comes up on their Evernote notebooks as one of their notebooks, as a shared notebook. This one is on everybody's Evernote, and I'm thinking that they could look through it individually on their own computers when they want an idea of something to do. That maybe they're looking for a book to read, and Sophie actually started this book the other day. There's a lot of other ones there. That's one there that Charlotte passed on to her the other day. She might think, oh wow, I think I might go and hunt that one down and read that one. Or they might feel like watching a video one afternoon and say, oh, there's Swan Lake, there's the link over there. Can we watch Swan Lake this afternoon? Or they might be looking for an art idea. On Friday, Gemma Rose was making her own notebooks out of brown paper and string. I was busy doing something else, and she was doing this entirely on her own, and she came up to me afterwards and to show me what she'd been doing. And she said that she'd enjoyed making it, but she wasn't entirely happy with the binding. And so we discussed a few ideas, and I asked her if she'd like me to help her find some additional ideas. And we went looking on the internet, and here's an article I clipped for her, How to Make Recycled Notebook Sketchbooks. I also found a Pinterest notebook board, notebooks, how to make all these notebooks, and they're on a Pinterest board. On Friday, she thought she might actually try and make one of these notebooks, so she got everything out, followed these instructions, and afterwards what I did was I copied this note into last week's notebook, and this is how I did it. All I did was copy to notebook. There's the notebook we had. I copied it. If I go to last week's notebook, there it is, but there it is again. I've just duplicated that. I'd actually did that last Friday, so it's very easy to move notes or copy notes from a planning notebook to the current notebook that the girls are working on as they pick up on some of these ideas. So very, very easy to sort of plan a few ideas that the girls might be interested in. If they use them, copy them or move them into the relevant notebook. And that's how I'm going to be using them. There's obviously no obligation on my girls to use any of these notebooks, but it's always good to have ideas. We all want fresh ideas about things that we could be learning. Now, when it comes to registration purposes, how am I going to use this notebook? Well, I have already labeled them all roughly to the key learning areas. If I want to, I could add the outcomes. I talked about outcomes in my last video. There's that Creative Arts notebook. Now, if I go to Creative Arts outcomes and search through them, I might find an outcome that matches that planning note, which I will then move into my records books. So I could label them all. I could label them all after I've moved them. Like some of these other ones, I've got outcomes. I've been trying these outcomes out. I could add the outcomes after they've been moved into the relevant notebook, or I could add outcomes to my planning notes when they're in the planning notes notebook. Then I could say to my AP, look, I have all these resources which cover all the key learning areas. I've actually thought about the outcomes and how they're relevant to the syllabus. I've added the outcomes to each of the notes. Now, I don't really know if I've got the energy or the enthusiasm to do all that, because I think it will be a lot of work, but it is a possibility. So that is my idea about how to use Evernote to strew resources in front of my children, how to put together a possible plan for registration purposes. And I wonder what you think of that, whether you have your own ideas, how you maybe extend this idea. I've been talking to a number of people on my blog and via email and Facebook about Evernote ever since I've been posting my videos, and we've had some great discussions about Evernote and unschooling, and everybody has had additional ideas from my ones, and it's been really good discussing possibilities. So if you'd like to stop by Facebook or stop by my blog and share your own ideas about how we could use Evernote to strew or to plan for registration purposes, or even just to give us further ideas for a portfolio for our children, then I would be really happy to hear from you. That's the end of this video today. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch it, and maybe I'll hear from you in the future. Thank you.